Hello and welcome back to the 2Pro's podcast. As you can see, we're joined by a third person. We are lucky and really grateful today. Sam, thank you for joining us. Sam's from an amazing new company. It's a cool brand called Fescue Dunes. Sam's joined us today. Sam, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Gareth. Thank you both for having me on to talk about the business that we've been running for the last few months. I've caught the last episode of your podcast and I thought it'd be a great opportunity to come on and talk with you guys.
Awesome. Talk to me first of all, Sam. How did the brand come about? How did you guys kind of think of Fescue Dunes?
Yeah, sure. So myself and my friend David, we've been playing golf for, I don't know, maybe 25 years. So we're good friends and, play golf pretty regularly. Over the last few years, we've been buying products from the States, mainly for ourselves, clothing or accessories, things that maybe a little bit harder to get hold of over here. But instead of being, the fifth or sixth guy wearing the same T-shirt and the usual stuff from kind of local pro shops, always interested in, something a little bit different.
Cool.
So with that, over the last few years, we've run into many issues with products getting lost in international shipping, paying high costs, waiting 3 or 4 weeks to get the products over from the States. So we started to think about it earlier last year, kind of during lockdown, about potentially setting up a business where we would purchase products from the US, sell them over here on an e-commerce site, because we thought there was a great potential and opportunity with consumers based in the UK that are similar to ourselves, want something a little bit different, whether it's a, custom-made head cover or a piece of artwork. So that's where we got started. We were on a golf trip up in Scotland in August last year, playing a few different courses. And that was the kind of starting point where we were thinking, right, let's get going with this. We've both got a bit of spare time in our hands right now. So we started reaching out to brands, setting up the site, and then we launched in October last year.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I think it's really nice to see from your perspective, Sam, that it's a business that's a little bit something different as well. I think there's so much out there that is now become almost repetitive. That to see some of the golf course prints and some of the little bit different kind of things that you offer, I think there's a kind of real gap in the market for that. So it must be nice to have that to be able to provide to people.
Yeah, that's what we thought as well. It was a case that, always on the lookout for something a little bit new or a little bit different. There's obviously vast arrays of brands and independent companies based in the UK, but also a huge amount over in the US. So we started, our kind of starting point was social media and understanding which brands we wanted to try and target and partner with. We started reaching out to them kind of August, September time last year, and we had a really good response from pretty much everybody. Everybody's been really welcoming, loving the idea, really happy to go into a partnership where we would, promote their brands over here in the UK. We were quite selective with the brands that we wanted to work with. We wanted to, work with brands that had a story to tell, had a really nice, cool theme about them, really nice, cool products. And again, kind of focusing on that area of offering something different to the UK consumer.
How did that product list come about, Sam? How did you go out of that kind of thinking these are the products we're going to target, these we're going to kind of get out to market?
Yeah, so I suppose we kind of built it over the last couple of years. When you do see a cool product or brand on something like Instagram, you end up following them. Over time, you might make a purchase, and that was the case with a few of the brands that we did contact initially. Then from there, we started to think about what products other consumers would be interested in, what brands, really up and coming and cool, maybe aren't widely stocked over here or, in some cases widely known. How we could, leverage that as a kind of opportunity for that brand as well, that we'd give them exposure here in the UK and start promoting their products. So yeah, it kind of organically grew over time. We've still got a few brands that we're looking to contact, and as we progress through 2021, the plan is to grow, add more products to our portfolio, add more brands, and really go from strength to strength.
I love that. I think that's a really good position to be in. Obviously, like you say, starting a business there and looking to expand. I think a lot of people in the golf industry, like I said earlier, don't really know what's on offer. And you see a lot of kind of clubhouse art that looks quite good. And some people do want to take a little bit of that home. And as you can see, we've all got a kind of golf office that we obviously want to decor with those little bits and the mementos of where we've gone. So it's really nice that you provide that and give people an opportunity to where they may not normally have that.
That's it. And, with a lot of these brands as well, when we were discussing this with them, they've had issues themselves, whether they can't or they have a policy where they don't do international shipping because of the issues and the cost implications that they've had in the past. For some of them, they admitted, they've had a tough time over the last few years trying to service people over in the UK and Europe when they are based in the States. So a lot of them are quite grateful for us giving them an opportunity to be able to, service their community over here in the UK. I'm sure as, those brands grow and go from strength to strength, it'll be a good opportunity moving forward.
Let's talk coffee, because that's probably one of my favorite products. And that for me is a genius idea, because what do we all do when we go to the golf club? Before we tee off, we grab a coffee. And the coffee is dreadful at most golf clubs. I do argue the case there. And I think I've got a cup now. I'm not biased. I'm a customer. I purchased the Bring It Home. I've had Sip It and Rip It. I love the naming. I love the concept behind it. How did the coffee derive, and how have you developed the kind of various flavors that you've got now?
Yeah, sure. So we work with a UK-based coffee manufacturer. It's someone that my business partner David has known for a while. David really thought about the idea and started really pushing it. He's really into his coffee. And we started thinking, this could be a good way for us to have more products to the site, slightly different kind of product range. There's a lot of golf businesses that pretty much stick to apparel and hardware and accessories. And we were thinking about, okay, what can we do to, give consumers something a little bit different? So we started out, we had 2 blends pretty much straight away, which sold through really, really quickly. We had some great coverage from that as well on social media from people sharing. And thank you, Gareth, for the purchases that you've made. And then over the last month or so, we've actually done a collaboration with the Lynx Diary. And our most recent blend, which we launched last week, that's in partnership with them. We actually bumped into those guys last August when we were up in Scotland and East Lothian. We were staying at the Ducks Inn. It just so happened that some of their guys that were out making content for their first edition of their magazine were also staying at the Ducks Inn at the same time. They were interviewing Malcolm. We were having a few beers in the evening after playing a bit of golf during the day. Got talking to them, and we kind of kept an eye on how they were growing over the last couple of months. We've been speaking to some of the guys there. And then as it came about, we reached out to them and said, hey, do you fancy doing a collaboration on our next blend? And they were all over it. So in the space of about a week or two, we brought that to market, launched that on the site last week, and that's been going really well as well.
I really like that. And I mean, I suppose this has all kind of come off the back, especially coffee and golf. You think Phil Mickelson. And to see a lot more people kind of with thermoses down the range now, I know I take one down, and I think to have that's quite a nice little extra as well. That's your kind of golf coffee. It's something a little bit better than you normally get, and if that's your treating a cold winter's night on the range, then I think that's a really nice way of going down that route.
I mean, if we were able to play golf right now, a little flask of coffee in your bag would definitely help you get around. I don't know when the snow's going to clear off and when we are next going to be able to play golf. Hopefully it's before the spring. But yeah, we're planning more blends. We've had some great feedback from people. Lots of people are asking for, what are our plans for different blends and partnerships around that. So I think it'll be growing even more this year.
Cool. I love that. And I think, more the merrier on the coffee blends. That's absolutely superb. If people are kind of, because you're quite a young company, would there be any advice that you, and any kind of the pitfalls, the roller coaster journey that you may have been on, and giving people advice if they were starting a company, especially during these lockdown times? Is there any kind of little gems that you'd give people and pass on to new companies?
Yeah, sure. So both myself and David work in the advertising and marketing industry in slightly different sectors and areas, but that gave us quite a good grounding in terms of understanding what we needed to do to get a company and products to market. Also, what was required in terms of the setup for, an online e-commerce venture. E-commerce has been growing massively over the last 10 years or so. The last 12 months has seen even more acceleration and growth in that area. People favouring online purchases rather than kind of bricks and mortar. For most of the last year, the high street's been closed. one of the things in terms of recommendations or, advice is, really work on your proposition and try and think about how you want to be positioned as a company, what sort of brands or service offering you want to do, and, try and focus everything around that. I think it's really important to also admit that as you progress, you will learn and you might make mistakes, whether it's buying the wrong product at the wrong time or, having something not quite right for your target audience. But never be afraid to admit defeat or, admit you're wrong on a certain decision and, change your strategy and change your processes just to make sure that you are moving in the right direction and learning as you go. Now, one of the other areas in terms of something we've learned is don't be afraid to kind of look for advice or support in areas that you might not be fully confident or, experienced in. There's plenty of people out there who can help and who have gone through similar experiences. One of the things that has been, really refreshing is all of the brands that we have been speaking to over the last kind of 6 months. They've all been really welcoming. They've all been, really positive and, giving great feedback and advice there. And, we've built some really good relationships, even in the short 6 months that we've been actually kind of following this venture. But one of the other things I'd also say is don't be afraid to give it a go. I know it's difficult right now for a lot of people, but there are good opportunities out there to, take a product or a business to market. And yeah, when we think back 6 months ago when we were kind of just planning our trip to Scotland and we had nothing set up in terms of a website, any social media presence, any social media following, and now to see how that's grown over the last month or two is been really rewarding.
I imagine that the kind of the content that's come has been user generated as well. So it doesn't mean that you've got to go out creating reams of content, because you've got people out there loving your product, drinking the coffee, putting the prints in their houses. So does that really help the kind of the almost like this little following that you're building as a brand as well, that people are really embracing?
Definitely, yeah. Consumers have been brilliant so far. All of them, like I said, been providing really good feedback, sharing content with us that we can then reuse. And I think that ties into having, quite an organic and natural feeling about the brand. We want to put the consumers first in terms of our product offering. Again, when we've been speaking to a lot of brands, they talk about the consumers as, more of a community and, more of a investing in the brand long term, which I think is, really refreshing, great to hear. I think we see a lot of kind of faceless big organizations that maybe don't have that as a feeling, but again, are successful. And, like I said, we've got some good opportunities coming up this year and really hope that we continue to grow in the way that we have been.
I think that's a really kind of valuable point, as you mentioned, to a couple of businesses as well there. But in terms of kind of advertising and what you're able to go out and do, would you say social media for a new kind of company is the biggest place that you can hit? Because I think a lot of people almost get very intimidated of, well, how am I going to get my name out there? And if you look at social media, and obviously, especially with golf, people talk between themselves. We've seen it when people have a new driver, they stripe on 280, 290 down the fairway, and it's, oh, what have you got in the bag? But I think that happens with everything else as well. Be it, like you say, a print or a coffee, people will talk within the four balls and help to promote that. But would you say social media is now as powerful as kind of word of mouth?
Yeah, definitely. Social media has been huge and it is, massive for, brands that are far bigger than Fescue Dunes. The golf community is a really interesting kind of sector. Over the last kind of 5 to 10 years, there's been a decline in golf, but over the last 12 months, especially, we've seen loads of people coming back to the game because they can't play their Sunday league football or, netball or whatever sport it is they would usually play. I think in terms of all the sports out there at the moment, it's one that you can do, socially distanced and safe. And, it's also a great way to get out and, experience golf with different generations, lots of different types of people and members of golf courses. So it's been really interesting to see how organically that word of mouth has gone alongside the social media side. Obviously, we haven't really had much of an opportunity to be promoting ourselves at golf courses or events or anything like that over the last 6 months because we've been in lockdown for most of that time. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting, like I said, to see how things continue to develop this year, whether we'll be able to play golf sooner rather than later, fingers crossed. and actually be able to start going to organized events and bigger tournaments so we can try and get some more coverage.
Is that your kind of vision, Sam, for this year? If kind of golf kind of picks up where we've left off, really, that you kind of stock coffee in pro shops and clubhouses, is that the kind of bigger picture for Fescue and Dunes?
Yeah, it's definitely one part of how we see ourselves growing, getting in with some of the golf courses, or getting involved with some regular competitions or some of the smaller tours. I think everybody at the moment is looking forward to getting back out onto the golf courses, and especially when the weather warms up a little bit more. So the plan for 2021 is to play more golf, be involved in some kind of groups and activities that will be organising events would be really interesting. If we're in a position to start stocking some of our products as capsules or partnerships with some pro shops, then yeah, that would be brilliant. I think at the moment we just need to focus on our kind of brand offering and the products that we've got on our online space, continue to grow our following in social media, and just as well as having that following growth, we also want that engagement to continue to grow as well, where we're interacting with the consumers, taking on feedback and suggestions around products and brands that people would love to see over here or be able to purchase over here, but at the moment find it difficult. And yeah, like I said, there's some good opportunity for us, so we just hope we go from strength to strength.
I'm just really interested to pick up on something you just said, Darren, just previous as well, about kind of feedback coming from people. I think a lot of consumers underestimate the power of their feedback. I mean, how important is it for you guys to have that bit of feedback from somebody that's bought the coffee or bought the print and either has a positive kind of well done or has something that they would kind of add? How important is that to you as a business?
Oh, it's massive. Like, we're a small business that's only been operating for about 3 or 4 months. This is a side project that both me and David started, and we do have day jobs to run alongside that. We want to engage with the consumers, and having that first-hand feedback, considering the size we are, is really, really important. There's one thing that there's one kind of point of view that we have in terms of what products or brands would be cool, but then we're not representing all of the consumer base within the UK. We might not have something for everybody, but that's maybe not the route we want to go down right now. It's just more focusing on brands that have a cool story, some really nice products that are a little bit different from what you can generally find within the kind of golf clubs and online stores in the UK. And yeah, along that journey we'll have positive and negative feedback, and we want to really make sure that we continue to service our consumers and allow them to be in a position where they're showing off one of the accessories or one of the products they purchased from us to their friends when they go and play golf, and generally that will see increasing word of mouth, and hopefully those people come back to our site and purchase more products.
With the kind of product side of things, Sam, the prints, were they inspired by kind of your favorite golf courses, or that yourself and David have kind of just thought, I'd love that piece of art on my wall, and inspired by the places that you've played golf?
Yeah, so in the case, it's definitely, some courses are more aspirational to play. I think I've got Augusta in the background. Hopefully one day my luck might come in and I'll be able to play there. But we saw the prints with Lion Loft, which is an independent company based out of the US. We started talking to them, and they had a wide range of prints available. So we started with a select few. There's a few that we have played, a few that we would like to play. Dave, he played Kiawah Island quite a few years ago, so he's got that up in his kind of office. And yeah, we also talked to them about how we can be more focused on UK prints, UK course designs as well. So hopefully we'll have some more coming over the course of the rest of this year. And it's just interesting to see what triggers people's interest. Obviously, we didn't have the Open in 2020. That was a bit of a shame. When we're looking ahead to this year, it's whether we can get some products themed around, whether it's at the Open venue or whether it's around Augusta. We have some products that are themed towards that, such as with the North Coast gloves, they have the Sunday Tradition glove, which is a kind of green and yellow vibe. That's inspired by the Masters. Whether we'll look to do some sort of deal with some of the Augusta prints alongside the Augusta themed gloves from North Coast, then that might be a cool opportunity in April.
See, Joe's ears was pricked up then, Sam. I was surprised to get the bank card out and started putting the bank details in there.
I was going to say the Masters have got a kind of special place in my heart. And I do like that kind of idea. So if there's a purchase coming to this address, then let's keep it on the down low and not shout it around too much. But I love what you say there, and looking kind of at the Masters as a whole, the way it's marketed is that even the people that have maybe not been to Augusta still love it. They still want the mementos from there. And I think that's such a powerful thing to kind of ride the wave of getting the prints, getting the gloves and everything like that. I mean, for April, if you end up just buying a green and yellow glove, it works really nicely just for that little bit of a theme for, and a lot of golf courses put things on around it as well.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's a major event, and a lot of keen golfers will spend quite a lot of time watching the Masters coverage each year. There's always such a big build up to it. Hopefully everything goes to plan this year, and we'll have a whole bunch of events like the Ryder Cup. Obviously there's the Olympics. It's been interesting to see how that's grown since it was introduced in the last couple of Olympic Games. But obviously getting back to a kind of more usual tour schedule, I think it's great that golf's back, especially European Tour and PGA Tour over the last couple of weeks. It's kind of given something to do over the weekends and in the evenings, because lockdown over the winter is quite different from what it was like last summer. Obviously we can't be outside, we can't really be playing golf, so it kind of gives everybody that bug back, looking forward to dusting off the clubs. I keep spending my time on eBay looking at golf clubs that I don't really need to buy, but I just really want to be back out on the course, whether it's playing well or whether it's playing poorly. I don't really mind right now. It's just more about getting back on the golf course as soon as possible.
One of the ways that we hopefully get back on the course and make your kind of mark is with the ball markers as well. I thought they were kind of genius idea. Both me and Joe from a pottery city, shall we say, we kind of took a little fancy to the clay ball markers. How did they come about?
Yeah, again, so that's part of Line Loss Range. They also have a whole bunch of other kind of homeware accessories in addition to pottery based. We saw the ball markers, we thought they were really cool. So when we were talking to them about purchasing some of the prints, we thought, well, let's go for some of their accessories as well. There's a whole bunch of independent companies that are making cool little accessories, whether it's personalized or whether it's along a particular theme. And there's some really good UK based ones as well. So maybe as the year progresses, we might partner up with some of them, offer some Fescue Dunes related ball markers, or continue to be able to be in a position where we're giving the consumer something that's personal to them. Again, it's a little bit different. You don't really want a full ball using the same marker, because you'll lose track of which ball is yours. But allow people to express themselves on the golf course, their own individual style, something a little bit different. And again, it kind of ties back to giving consumers something as a talking point towards something a little bit different.
Yeah, I think like you say there, something that's certainly come to the forefront of kind of technology now is a lot more kind of personalized golf club speed, stampings, etchings, your own colors from certain brands. So I think bringing something, instead of having wedges stamped that you might want to sell in a few months' time, a year's time, if you don't get on with them, at least this is something that you will keep, and as a present as well, works really nicely for kind of birthdays, Christmases, events that are quite nice. I mean, unfortunately it didn't come off, but we'd got a trip up to St Andrews kind of within a couple of weeks' time, and that kind of stuff works perfectly to kind of go through the group and give them one each. So I really like the idea of that kind of personalization on ball markers and little bits like that as well.
Definitely, yeah, completely agree with you there, Joe.
Sam, it's been an absolute pleasure today. Thoroughly enjoyed hearing the behind the scenes. And I think this is what people want to see. They want to understand the brand. They want to meet the people who have created the brand. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you everybody for watching and listening. And thank you, Joe, for supporting as always. Please go and check out Fescue Dunes. Check them out on their social channels, but also fescueanddunes.com. I can vouch for the coffee, amazing coffee, both blends. I can't wait to try the Links Diaries, but please go and check the guys out, because they're producing some amazing products, and it'll look great in your lockdown office at home, your home office, or in your golf bag for ready when we're back on the course. Sam, thanks for your time. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Gareth. Thanks, Joe.